I wanted to talk a little bit about maybe heartbreak, right? It's been a long week for the world, as they all have been lately. But it seems this week a lot of different people are being affected in different ways. And I found just an overwhelming, not an overwhelming sense, but a sense of a lot of people being overwhelmed while doing meditations throughout the week, and a little bit more than the last couple weeks. So I was trying to just examine that with folks. And I think meditation teaches us a lot about holding space, right? A lot about giving space to feelings, giving space for ourselves, learning how to just sit with a little space in our breath, right? There's a lot of spaciousness built into the practice. And so in this past week, we've had the Jacob Blake incident, right? The man who was shot in the back 7 times. We've also had Chadwick Boseman pass, right? The man who played Black Panther, James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, just so many very important heroes in the Black community. And so that's another kind of death that's weighing on people a lot. And in this pandemic, in this past 6 months, there's been a lot more everyday confrontations with death, with the reality of us losing people, right? We've lost friends, cousins, distant people, icons, or people we held as lights in a movement, people close and far to us. But there's just a kind of blanket of just the reality of our impermanence these days, in a less fun to explore way and in a more confronting us with just the truth of how things are way. And so what do we do with that, right? Where do we put that in ourselves? Because I found I was getting a little overwhelmed too last week, and I was wondering why I was responding so passionately for a second in my heart to like Chadwick Boseman passing, because that's the one person I don't know, like I have the least connection with technically out of all the people who I've thought about in these past few months and who I've lost in these past few months. And it was just an interesting exploration. But I think in that exploration, I was looking for, okay, well, what can I share with other people about meditation that is helping me right now? And that was like a nice tool for me to pause and actually be like, okay, you need to help yourself first. You have to find what tools you're using. And so what I found to be beneficial this week that I'll share is just really thinking about the way that we breathe, right? In the instructions part, I guess you can say, or the just like gentle suggestions part of meditation, when I open it up, I explain a little bit of how physically we breathe, right? We breathe in through the nose, we fill the belly first, we let the back fill up, we breathe out as if you can picture it like a circle, right? So I'm breathing, I'll get up a little. I'm breathing in, I'm letting my belly expand all that it can, and then my back expands all that it can. That means my lungs are pushing out, not up, right? My shoulders are relaxed. And then visually, if you can imagine like a circle, you breathe back down, out the nose. It's visual, the head part, but you're trying to breathe in a circular way, right? You're trying to have a constant flow that allows for your body to relax. And in relaxing, you can expand your lungs as much as possible, and you're actually breathing physically as deep as possible. You're oxygenating all of your organs that way. There's a lot of like literal physiological benefits. But besides that, in thinking of allowing ourselves not just to breathe a quick breath, not just to breathe because it's something that we have to do and it's something that we know will happen no matter what, but in paying attention to it, right? In giving it the space of the moment, in giving it those 2 10-minute chunks to really dive into that breath, to say, okay, what does it feel like to breathe my biggest breath, right? What do I feel when I do that? What is scary about trying to slow down your breath, right? Sometimes we breathe slowly and it feels like we're going to run out of breath. We start to like panic a little bit. But we're in control of that whole situation, right? We're in control of the breath, theoretically, that we're having. But we know ultimately that it's not forever. I think that's the little panic that pops in there, right? That heartbreak that seeps into the moment. We know that the breath isn't forever, that we're very lucky to have it. And so we're just trying to sit in that with comfort, right? Tomorrow is not promised for us. It's simply not. But right now is always here. Like, we always have the opportunity to realize right now is happening, right? A good, and this is a less practical talk than usual and more just my feelings, but I think it's important to sometimes just present some feelings for people to either bounce off of or just take what they want from it. But on a small practical note, I think a good grounding exercise for right now is simply identifying 5 things around you, right? This is not my exercise. This is 1,000 different therapists' exercises, but to just look around, and if you're feeling overwhelmed, right, take one clearing breath. I always like to just take a in through the nose, out through the mouth is a good way to just, all right, it resets your shoulders a little bit, and simply look around and pick 5 things to identify, right? I'll do it for you guys. I can see a plant, I can see a tree, I see my gymnastic rings, I see my bell, I see the mokugyo, and I see a mallet, right? That's a little faster way of identifying things. But if you do it slowly, I think just appreciating 5 things roots you in a sense of what's immediately around me right here. And that can be a nice reset. And then to pair the practical reset with just something I like to do or think about, sometimes I like to push that a little farther once I've gotten to a more balanced place and think of just 5 things that had to happen for one of those things to be here, right? Like, what had to happen for me to have this bell? Somebody had to make it. There was a very nice USPS person that delivered it to me. Somebody had to make the car the truck, the USPS truck. Somebody had to care enough to give me a whole meditation practice so that 12 years later, I'd need to buy a new little gong and buy this one. There's so many connections in between this one thing, right? So in the immediate, we have a grounding, and then we also can recognize that this is way more than it is and also way less than it is, right? We have an infinite amount of potential in each object, in each connection, in each experience of interconnectedness. So that's my sharing today. It's a little windier than usual, but thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And sometimes I need to tell you guys things more than I think you need to hear them, but thank you all. Feel free to come off mute if you'd like. We'll do a little round robin check-in.